The new Outcast 4S version 2.5 is turning out to be a lot of fun and a really awesome basher. That being said, I don't think we've reached the limit of this vehicle and I want to see what it can do on 6S, but before we do that, we've got a couple things we need to address. The first one is this strap system. The strap system that comes on this truck really isn't that great, and I've already broken one of them, so let's get these out of here and put some regular straps on. I like the idea of this wire holder, but it just isn't practical in this truck because it has to go on top, which means the stock strap has to get tucked down here between the battery and the body, and it just really doesn't fit. I'll personally never use two batteries on this truck, so I'm gonna go ahead and eliminate one of these connectors. Let me show you how to do that. First step is just take these covers off the backs of the connectors. They can be pretty tight, but you can get them off. Next step is we want to take the wire that's going from the connector you're going to eliminate to the ESC and cut that off. You then want to cut the wire that goes from that connector to the connector you're going to keep. You can go ahead and cut this sensor wire as well. And we can just eliminate that connector that we're not going to be using anymore. Adding a little bit of fresh solder to the connector will help melt the lead-free solder that comes on it. And we need to get rid of that excess wire that's on the other side of the connector as well. There we go. Just going to cover up that sensor wire that's not going to be used. I'd strongly recommend getting some adhesive-lined heat shrink. It works so much better than regular heat shrink tubing. I want to make sure we put our little cover back on, pre-tin our wires. Both these wires are black, but the negative wire is marked with negative markings. And there we go. We've gone from 2 plugs to 1 plug, and we've shortened up the wiring, so this should be a lot easier to manage. Now I've just got a couple of regular old metal buckle straps we're going to be putting in place of those ones I took out. Perfect. Now, Arrma, take note. This is how it should come from the factory. All right, now for the main event. We're going to take this 120 amp ESC out, and what better thing to replace it with than the 150 amp V2 ESC out of the Big Rock. This is going to include a couple little side projects that I think you'll be interested to see. Speaking of which, if you're finding this interesting, make sure you get subscribed. We do this kind of stuff here all the time, and you're not going to want to miss what we've got coming up in the future. Out with the old, and before we go in with the new, I want to take a look at the servo. Now, there's nothing wrong with this servo, but I want to take a look inside, and I want to see if we can fix my more powerful servo out of the Big Rock. I broke this because the upgraded servo saver I used locked up. I bet the gears in this are the same as this. If they are, we're going to swap them out and put this in here instead. I'm a little disappointed to see they haven't updated this. This is basically the same servo saver they've been using since the beginning of the 3S line, and whereas it's okay, it tends to get loose and wear out over time. Hot Racing does make an upgraded one, but it's really not that much better. Hopefully somebody in the aftermarket will come up with a better servo saver. I'm sure plenty of people would want one. Okay, well, comparing these two servos, they're actually very different from each other. I'm kind of surprised about that. Maybe the gears inside that I need will be the same though. Let's get them apart and find out. This S662 does have O-rings on the screws, so they are making some attempt at waterproofing. And we can see we've got a brushed servo here. We can tell because there's only 2 wires going to the motor, and they do have an O-ring around the bottom cover, so again, more attempt at waterproofing. Popping this top cover off. These gears look fairly similar. Let's take the cover off the other one. As you can see here, these do look fairly similar. Interestingly, the weaker of the 2 servos actually appears to have a stronger gear train with all steel gears, but it is kind of hard to know. Let's see what we broke on this. Okay, we chipped a couple teeth on the main gear here. Unfortunately, these gear trains are different enough that I'm not going to be able to use the gears for this in order to run this. It is nice to see that this new S662 servo has all steel gears and looks pretty stout. Let's get this back together. Okay, enough distractions. What we need to do now is fit this where this was. That is a bit of a problem because it doesn't really fit on the receiver cover. Fortunately, I have a 3D printer and someone's already made an adapter for it. And there we go. Let's get the ESC installed. And there we go, guys. She fits in there really nicely. You may have noticed I did not swap out the motor. That's because this is a 2400 kV motor, and whereas we will technically be over revving it, I think it's gonna be just fine, and adding the power of 6S to it is gonna make it an absolute monster. Speaking of which, let's jam in a big 6S battery and see what this monster can do. see if we can go any faster than 39 miles an hour. Definitely still wants to wheelie. Oh. Yeah, it's windy too. All right, more pass with the wind. All right, let's bring it in. 50 miles an hour, that is a heck of an improvement from 39. I think that's about all this chassis can handle though, even though we've got this thing slammed all the way to the ground. I don't know guys, I was expecting this to just be a meme video, but I think I might be in love with this setup. This is a lot of power and it is a ton of fun on this car. That being said, I can't pass judgment until we test it on the big ramp. Let me know what you think about me trying this thing on 5S. 6S is awesome, but it is really, really heavy and it might be a little too much for this long term. I've seen Jason Perrin working on 5S. I've done 5S in the past and it might be just right for this. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that. I'll get a 5S battery ordered and we'll test it out. I don't know what to say, guys. It is not too often that an RC car really gets my blood pumping, but this is a really impressive car. The only thing I've done to this is put way too much power into it, and as you just saw, it took it like a champ. There were some hits out there that I was pretty certain were gonna break the car, and nothing has broken. This car is still in absolutely perfect working condition. I don't really know what else to say about it. I've got 5 packs into this now, 2 of them on 6S, and it's taking everything I can throw at it and just begging for more. So yeah, guys, if you're looking for a really capable out-of-the-box basher, on 4S especially, I don't think you're gonna break this thing with normal bashing. That being said, again, let me know if you wanna see me try 5S on this. 6S might have been a little bit too much, but 5S might be just the sweet spot for it. Love to hear what you think about that down in the comments. Once you've done that and hit the subscribe button, make sure you check out this video.